Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the live webinar on my performance and a new system that we'll be using for performance this year. My name is Raisa, and I am part of the PNC team. And on the call today, I have my colleagues Polani and Wendy, who will be joining me, as well as Sharon, who will be taking us through a system demo a little bit later. So as we go through this wonderful integration that we have for the My Performance solution, we are going to go through a quick introduction. So I've got a small video that I'd like to show you, but it's a very exciting video. I'll take you through the positioning. So, why are we doing this? Why have we decided to do this in 2025 for performance management? And then Polani will then take you through some goal setting and how to do that. We'll then go into a practical demonstration that Sharon will be taking you all through. And then finally, we'll close off with, so how do we support you through the performance solution? So before we get into it, I'd like to share a small video with you. And as I've mentioned, we are embracing the group's performance management solution called My Performance. And this will be rolled out in phases throughout the year. So up first for us is goal setting, which, as I mentioned, we are very, very excited about. The system is agile, it is effective, and it's super efficient. So I can't wait to show you what it looks like. But here's a short video to give you a sneak peek.
Introducing My Performance for Insurance and Asset Management. We're continuing our journey to ensure that our people feel deeply connected to our purpose, creating an environment where they feel safe, empowered, and motivated. To enable that, we will be adopting the group's performance management system called My Performance. This will enable us to do goal setting in the My Performance system, no matter where we work in IAM. In IAM, our purpose is to grow and protect what matters most together. Our goals must be smart and aligned to our 2025 business objectives. My Performance as an enabler will help employees with a rich and meaningful experience, which will ignite our performance culture and inspire our IAM teams to greatness. It offers a complete employee experience and engagement solution in order to create agile goals, which will enable us to re-evaluate what matters most, achieve our business results, and create value. Gather crowdsourced feedback in moments that matter so that you can gain self-awareness, resulting in personal growth using the One Coaching Report. Support your performance check-ins with a preset agenda for consistent development. Recognize your peers for a meaningful contribution and job well done. We look forward to many meaningful conversations enabled by the My Performance solution. The My Performance implementation will be done in phases throughout 2025, starting with goal setting, and we will take you along the journey with us.
So I hope that video was a lovely teaser into what we will be showing you a little bit later throughout this session. But let's move on to our why. So we recognize that we want to use my performance as an enabler. So as I mentioned, conversations would have happened at the beginning of this year. So you would have had continuous conversations in terms of setting goals in line with the business strategy. And the way that we see my performance as a solution is that it is the system or the solution, as we call it, to track all of your goals and capture them so that it's one-stop shop for performance for this year. So in terms of our integration with the bigger group, the wonderful thing about having a uniform technology is that it's absolutely efficient and effective. So if you have direct reports that sit not only in Liberty but also in Standard Bank, you will be able to see your employees across. So it's one platform that you will be able to use for performance for all of your employees, irrespective of where they sit. It offers a wonderful employee experience. So it's that consistency around improved experiences across the group. And we will be rolling out other technology as we continue on our journey with the integration with the bank. But also, as I want to mention, it is about enabling our culture. And again, what's important there is we recognize that, ultimately, when we're looking at performance, we want it to be about continuous tracking and continuous performance throughout the rest of this year. Then when we look at employee engagement, so again, how do we all engage in our day to day, but utilizing performance and goal setting as an opportunity to do that? So we also want to positively impact our net promoter score, but also through the different mechanisms that we use, such as the Are You a Fan survey. In terms of strategy alignment, we absolutely want to enable seamless alignment to business outcomes and strategic value drivers. The new solution allows you to do that. So as we go through the session, Polani will give you an indication of how we do that in terms of goal setting and adding your strategic value drivers, which we are all familiar with based on the fact that we rolled them out last year. Two goals. So how do you align all of that, the strategic value drivers, but also the value-based behaviors, which we'll share in a second as well. And then finally, it's about leadership effectiveness. So for all the leaders on this call, how do we enable and empower you as leaders to increase your coaching capability and your ability to become an effective leader throughout your journey in terms of your performance and your goal setting? Which takes me to the My Performance principles. So last year we shared with you the Perform to Grow philosophy, and so our performance philosophy is the same. So when we look at these six key principles, we recognize that with My Performance we are always on. So being able to have continuous conversations, as I've mentioned, being able to use different devices in terms of being able to access My Performance. So later this year, we will be adding on the BCom app. Okay, so My Performance is powered by BCom, and you will be able to actually do all of your performance conversations through an app on your phone, and then also through an Outlook ribbon that will, as I mentioned, be introduced later this year. Then, in terms of our value based behaviors, so where we previously used the leadership principles, we are making a shift in terms of going, as I mentioned, the integration with the bigger group. And there's a focus on value based behaviors, which I'll also share with you guys in a second. But it really is about that collective performance culture. So, how are we living these behaviors in terms of the values day to day? And how are we enabling ourselves to set those goals, but also to track at the end of the year when it comes to the review and use that as a collective. Then, in terms of ongoing tracking, so I've made many mentions to this so far. The system really is available to you to have continuous check ins as well. So, the system, once we go through the demo, you'll also be able to see that not only will you be able to goal set as a leader, but you will be able to set check ins with your direct reports. And similarly, they will be able to set check ins with you where you can record notes and really make it a meaningful check in as you go through this year. In terms of meaningful conversation, so it really is about how do we set intentional goals that are smart, but also having honest conversations and feedback, which is also a feature that is available on this solution. So, having those meaningful conversations are really important as we go through this year and in terms of performance management going forward. Collaboration, we are not new to collaboration, but as I mentioned, it's about how do we create that collective performance culture. So how do we contribute to the organization's purpose? And again, with goal setting and in this new environment, this new solution, you will be able to cascade and assign goals to your team, but also to be able to share your goals with other members outside of your team. So if that's your peer group, or your manager, you will be able to share your goal there. And then finally, it's about continuous growth. So, as part of the perform to grow philosophy, we recognize that there's an opportunity for feedback in every single day, and so receiving continuous feedback from your leaders but also your peers is definitely a part of growth, and this is a big thing that we want to focus on for 2025. So as I mentioned, the SPG value-based behaviors, we will be moving from the leadership principles to adopt these. And so when we're looking at serving our customers and clients, it's absolutely about meeting our customer needs. And this is something that, again, we do in our day-to-day, we recognize it, but how are we practically putting it into our goals and also, again, showing that behavior in our day-to-day? It's absolutely about growing our people. So how do we accept developmental opportunities, but also the opportunity to inspire others to develop? So again, Polani will touch on leadership effectiveness goals, which is an opportunity for you as leaders to actually put in your personal development plan. And again, how do you then link this value-based behavior to your goal? Delivering to our shareholders. So this is an absolute 100% what we need to do, but it's how we focus on long-term returns and achieving those targets. So again, when we're looking at 2028, so we're in 2025, and all of you will be familiar with our business strategy, it's about how do we get to 2028 so that we again are on that path to growth and impact. So again, it's about being proactive. So how do we anticipate change, considering different impact? And again, goals may shift throughout the year. So how do we become ready to do that? How do we become agile as leaders in terms of being proactive, not just for you, but for your teams? It's then about, as I've mentioned, working in teams. So it's that collective performance culture that we're trying to achieve. In terms of constantly raising the bar, that's something that we all want to do in terms of all of our goals. But how do we actively do this in our day to day? How do we celebrate the successes? How do we recognize, a great performance within not only ourselves, but in our teams as well? Respecting each other. So this is absolutely, again, how do we show up in terms of that respect for each other? How do we show up in terms of respect across teams, and not just with your peer groups, but also, again, with your direct reports? And then finally, it's about upholding the highest levels of integrity. Again, how do we demonstrate integrity? How do we remain credible, and how do we have that integrity pull through into our goals and our deliverables at the end of the year? And through that, we start to understand our regulatory requirements. So again, it's about focusing on compliance as one of the biggest day-to-day things that we need to do in terms of our goals. Finally, it's about, at the end of the year. So as I mentioned, we will be doing goal setting the My Performance solution will be rolled out in phases, and goal setting is our first piece of that. But at the end of the year, we need to think about the long term, right? So as we mentioned, one of the behaviors. So at the end of the year, we will have a year-end review, and how do we look at these behaviors in terms of tracking every single day? So it's absolutely about supporting and enhancing feedback from those performance conversations to build a winning culture where we consistently show up by living these values. And I've mentioned that before. How do we adopt these values and start practicing them in our day-to-day to deliver on those goals? It's then about the minimum expectation of how we should all behave. So again, what are we doing in terms of times when we're stressed, when we are feeling that things are moving too quickly, or things shift on a dime, and it becomes unpredictable. So how do we then show up in our behaviors through our practice in our day to day? And then finally, it is the key to achieving our purpose. So utilizing lived behavior every single day to then smash those goals and to get a great result at the end of the year. So now I'm going to hand over to Polani, who's going to take us through goal setting.
Thank you, Raisa. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And it is so great to see all the leaders, all 152 of you joining the session, because I think this is quite an important session to be part of as we introduce a new platform that will enable us to manage and be agile in terms of how we contract on our goals. So if we move to the first slide, how do we then, or what are some of the consideration that we need to look at when we're looking at setting our goals? And I think one of the most important things, we've already had a conversation with your teams about their goals already, and the teams are already performing those kind of those goals that you have discussed. But maybe this time around, this gives you an opportunity to actually look at those, because it will be important for you to consider some of these things in case maybe you didn't when you were contracting. So we firstly, step number one, looking at the understand how goals link to our business strategy and priorities and values, strategic value drivers, and the measurement framework. So basically, as we understand, our goals are basically coming from our strategic value drivers. So whatever goal that you will come up with, or that you will set, it has to speak to what our strategic drivers are. And obviously from there, you will have your priorities as a department, as as a team, to say these are your priorities that feed into the strategic value drivers. And of course, you will look at the value drivers, just as Raisa has shared with you, in terms of the behaviors that we need to display when we are going about delivering our business. So step number two will then speak to have a conversation with your stakeholders. What are the expectations? What are they expecting from you? Because obviously that will have to come from the priorities for the year. So as you start going about your business, how do you make sure that you align your delivery to the expectations of your business? Because then it wouldn't make sense for you to be going and delivering things that actually are not driving the business of your client. And then step number three, we're obviously looking at, now let's now sit down and talk about what exactly is the goal that we are setting for ourselves. Obviously, you need to look at the SMART acronym. We will talk about it just a little bit later. So we say capture your SMART goals and that are aligned to our strategic value drivers. And obviously, we're now going to be capturing these on our new platform that we are adopting. So if you've already had your conversations, it's a matter of uploading the goals onto the platform. So now we're looking at the strategic value drivers as leadership on the call, and I believe that this is something that you've already seen. It's already been discussed in detail with your teams, with your leadership, to say what is the purpose of the business. Whatever goal that we have to come up, it has to speak to the purpose of the business. And here are are the priorities that we need to align our goals to. Our success measure and 6 value drivers, these are all the value drivers that you need to look at. I'm not going to take too much time. And then we're going to look at the true north metrics, which is what we are now going to be measuring ourselves against at the end of the 2028 year. But obviously, as we go 2025, we need to look at the milestones that build into the 2028 plan or priority. And then, so now what is your role as a leader right now? So your role as a leader at this point in time is for you to obviously have the conversation with your teams to understand their KPIs. So what are the priorities for your team? But obviously you speak about what is then a goal for each individual that sits within your team. We know that the goal setting is led by the leaders, so yourselves on the call, but also the team members are the ones to own their own goals, to making sure that they achieve those goals and how they go about that. As they need some support, then you will be there to support them. So like I said, the conversation will need to be had, and then the platform does not replace the conversation. So just because, we are only now having the conversation, we are only now, rolling out the platform, it doesn't mean the conversation should not have happened already. So this is now to make sure that you capture that on the system so that you can track it and change it if you need to. So that is quite important. Then we look at the approvals. Approvals is a key metric for the approval and quality of the goal. So obviously, as the teams capture their goals, it is for you to go onto the system. You will get the notification from the platform to say, maybe Raisa has captured a goal that you need to approve. You go onto the goal, you look at the goal and see if it meets the SMART acronym that we spoke about. Obviously, you would have had a discussion about it, but just for you to make sure that you approve it and the quality of the goal is of the standard that you expect as well. Clarify expectations, like we spoke in the previous slide. I spoke about getting expectations from the client that you'll be supporting, but also as a leader, you need to make sure that the expectations are clear to your teams as well as your contract. So you use the performance rating validation guidelines to clarify those expectations. So I hope that your business partners in the various business areas would have shared with you in the last year the performance rating scales as well as the validation guidelines that come with the rating scales, so that you have an understanding of what setting the example is or how to measure a setting the example, how to measure a right on track and so forth. And then what is even more important is obviously the deadline, to say the performance, the goals need to be captured on my performance system, the new platform, on the 13th of June. And to clarify, my performance is replacing my access. Only the performance module on my access. The other modules will still continue. My performance is only replacing the performance module on my access. So that's to be clear. Now, how do you then sit and speak about and what is or how should your KPI look like? I'm saying a KPI, but it's part of the change. So KPIs, what we used to know as a KPI is now a goal. So what does a SMART goal look like? So if you look on your left, we look at improve customer satisfaction, which is really just a statement or 3 words that might not mean anything to someone that doesn't, to someone. So, but if you look on the right-hand side, increase customer satisfaction rating by 10%. That's the measure. Now we know, okay, by how are we going to measure ourselves when it comes to this KPI at the end of the year? Within the next quarter. Okay, so not the year, the quarter. Now we have the timeline, we have the measure or the metric that we'll use to measure this KPI through improved response and personalized service. Now we know. So what is it that we need to be seeing to say that the quality of the KPI, the quality of the goal, we can see it from there. So now, what does a good goal look like? It is a verb. It is specific, clear to the person that you are, to the team member. We do not want to leave a room for someone at the end of the year to come back and say, I actually didn't understand what was expected of me when it comes to this goal. So it has to be very clear. It states the achievement end result, outcome, target. As you saw, we have a 10%, we have the quarter. So those end results and the timelines we can see are clearly articulated in the goal itself. It states how the end will be measured. 10% is what we see in the goal as well. So there's no confusion there. There should be not more than 5 goals. So if you go and have 20 goals, is it realistic that actually your people will be able to deliver on all 5 goals? Probably not. And you are probably agreeing on tasks more than you are agreeing on goals, because remember, goals need to also have a little bit of challenge to allow for you to add value to the business. So it's not a tick box exercise. It is more about how do you change, how do you impact the business that you are supporting. So that's how you will see that your goal is actually a goal and not a task. View the strategic value drivers as tags, similar to how you use tags in social media. So as the team goes through the system or the navigation of the platform, they will show you how you will tag the strategic value drivers as part of your goals, to make sure that actually you know exactly that this goal is aiming to achieve, or at least push the dial towards this kind of strategic value driver. So let's recap. So I've said a mouthful. So there's 3 type of goals as a leader that you would be expected to look at as we contract. There's a business goal. Goals you are responsible for are aligned to your team goals and to the business strategy. So we spoke about that, and linked to our strategic focus areas and value drivers, so and measures as well. So then there's a learning goal. So the learning goal and the leadership effectiveness goals for you as leaders might be the same, but sometimes it might also not be the same. So the learning goal is basically just you sitting down and thinking about, okay, these are my developmental areas that maybe my team, my manager and I spoke about in the previous year, and this year I'm trying to, close those gaps. And then as well as the leadership effectiveness goals, this is where, as a leader, how do you make sure that you move and shift the dial in terms of your people? How do you empower your people to then perform to the standard that you expect, but also add value to the business? So like I said, this could also be the same. So this is even more important to new line managers, to making sure that how do you equip yourself with coaching your teams? How do you make sure that you support your teams and have those difficult conversations when performance is not coming through? So those are some of the important things that you can consider as you plan for contracting. And then I think this is the last slide for me. I'm going to hand over to my colleagues as well, Raisa and Sharon, that will be taking you through the navigation of the platform. And please enjoy.
Thank you, Polani. Let me share my screen. There we go. Good morning, everyone. So I'll be taking you through the system and how it works. So basically today I'll be focusing on goal setting and check-ins. So the minute you log in on the system, this is how it looks like. On the left-hand side, we have the menu bar, which has all the different components that we have on My Performance. So we have the coaching dashboard, your team's dashboard, which is a nice feature. I'll touch on it before I leave. We also have the feedback, the goals, my check-in reviews. And at the top, we have the search bar where you can search anyone in the organization, see who they report to, who their direct reports are, and their peers. We also have the notification bell where all the notifications will come through on the system. We do have some that go through email, but most of them will be on the system. We also have the site where you can change your profile, where you can edit your profile, make it more pleasing to you, add a profile picture so that it looks more appealing. This is where you can also see your direct reports. Going down, we have the settings. Under the settings, we have the legal disclaimer. We also have the setting notification, the email notification bar, where you can turn it on or off to help you opt in for the email notifications that goes out on the system. We also have the language part. The system supports 3 languages. So it supports English, French, and Portuguese, so you can change the system to the language that better suits you. We also have the FAQs. So the FAQs have the frequently asked questions that we get on the system. So if you're not sure what this component does or what does this mean, you just come here, type out a keyword, and it will give you all the details or the responses around the word keyword, the keyword that I've typed. So I've typed feedback, and this is all the responses that I have on feedback. You can just check if that question is answered already on the system for you. Now we go back to the business of the day, which is goal setting. So the minute I click on goals on the menu bar on the left-hand side, as a line leader, I will have a view of my goal and my team goals. So the minute you click here, you will see all the goals that your team has set. Going back to my goals, you will have a view of the goals that you set on the system. You will have a view of the goal center library, which contains the organizational goals that we have, the 5 goals that we have, and the goals that are shared with you. Now we're going to set a goal. The minute you click create a goal, this is the template that will come out. Wherever you see a red asterisk, please note that it is a required field. So for my brief goal description, it is a required field, so I need to put in something under it. So let's say our goal for this example is to maybe reduce client response time by 5 hours, or from 5 hours to 2 hours. And then within 6 months. That's a description of the goal. And if you have any supporting material or additional links, you can just click on this toggle and add more description to your goal. So I'll just put in test for the purpose of the demo. Moving forward, we have the due date. As you see, a due date is a required field. So I'll select a due date for when my goal is due. Sorry. So I said it's within 6 months. So I need to complete it by December. So I select the date and the month and the priority of a goal. So according to your goal, if it's an urgent and important goal, I'll keep it as a high priority. But if it's not a so urgent goal, you can keep it as a medium or low. So this one is an urgent goal. I'll keep it under high. Then these are the 3 under goal category. These are the 3 goal categories that Pulani spoke about. So this one is a business goal. Moving forward, if I'd like to assign this goal to my team, so by assigning it means I'm intentionally giving it to one of my direct reports to say, this is what you have to achieve for the year. So if I'd like to assign it to the entire team, I can use the Add My Team button. So what it does, it'll pre-populate all my direct reports. I'm not sure if you saw what happened. So when I click on Add My Team, my direct report, I only have 1 on this test profile. So it pre-populated their details. And if you have more than 1 and you'd like to assign it to just 1 individual, you can type out their name. I'll do that. And it'll pull out their details, then I can select them. Moving forward is if I'd like to align my goal to that of the group or the team, I can either search by a person or a team or a goal. So if I'd like to align it to maybe Sim's goal, Sim Chabalala's goal, I can type out the name to say Sim. It'll give me all the goals that he shared with the organization. The minute I select his name, all the details that he shared, all the goals that he shared on the system will be visible. So let's say I want to align it to this one. So I'll select that goal and it'll be here. Moving forward is what I want to achieve. So these are the value driver metrics that Pulani spoke about. So if I'd like to add a metric or tag a metric, I can simply add it as a free text or as a numeric value. So how you do it is you just scroll down to your value drivers as it says here. You scroll down. You check out all the strategic value drivers that we have. So my goal speaks more into client satisfaction, client growth. I can select that one. It'll give me all the metrics that we have under that value driver. And I can say I want to improve client experience. I can copy that and simply paste it here. So I've tagged that goal, that value-based driver. So I want to improve it by 10%. And I can also write down how I will do it. Do that. Or explain further on how I will achieve this 10%. Moving forward, we go to the key actions that we need to achieve that big goal. So instead of having 10 goals, we can have smaller tasks within one big goal. So this goal might mean I have to maybe do a bit of research about the current system that we use to support our client, research, and I can give it a due date to say it must be done by the end of the month. And the second part would be understand the peak times that we get questions or we need assistance from our clients, understand the peak times, and I can also give it a due date. These I need to figure out by the end of June so that I can meet up those big goals. So those smaller tasks I can be put under the key actions instead of having multiple goals. Moving forward, I've touched the strategic value drivers. So I've tagged this one. It has pre-populated. Now we go to our SBG, value-based behaviors, how we show up when we are actioning that goal. So I'd like to serve our customers and client, maybe growing our people, being proactive. So the minute I click on it, it pre-populates and shows me all the things that I need to do in order to meet that SBG value-based behavior or show up. Moving forward, we're going to goal visibility. By default, a goal is restricted to you and your line leader. So what it means, it's only visible to me and my line leader and nobody else. But the minute I make it visible to everyone, it means anyone in the organization can see my goal and it is not restricted. So the best option that we recommend mostly is to restrict a goal. And if you'd like your team members or somebody to have a visibility of this goal, use the share functionality that we have at the bottom. Share the goal to them to say, I'm sharing this goal to this user so that they know what I'm working towards for the year. The minute I click submit, that is when I've submitted my goal and approval will go through to my direct leader. And sorry. How to approve a goal as a line leader. So the minute your direct report submits a goal, there's an approval process that goes in. So how you can do it, you'll get a notification to say, so-and-so has submitted a goal. It's either you can go and approve via the notification bell, clicking on the notification, viewing the goal, and at the bottom, you will see that it says it requires an approval. If you're happy with the goal, you can say, yes, let's go. Maybe type in a comment. And click send. It means you have approved the goal. They can start tracking it. But let's say you want to decline a goal. You can decline a goal on the system if it doesn't speak to your business goal or if it's not, it doesn't make sense to you, or if it's not something you're achieving this year. You just come back to my team goals, view the goal that you want to approve or decline, scroll down, use the no, not yet, and give a reason why you're declining this goal. Declining 1, 2, 3, and you can send. So the minute you send, they will get a notification that the goal has declined. They have an opportunity to rectify the goal and send it back to you, or they can just delete it and leave it as is. So as a line leader, you also have an option to edit your direct reports goal. So for example, this is my direct reports goal. I'm still on my team's goal view, and I'd like to edit one of the goal or add maybe key actions that they've missed out. I can come to the goal, click the edit functionality, and update what I need to update. So maybe I say they're missing a key action. I can come here and add a new action and give it a due date. So they will get a notification that their goals have been updated, and this is what has been updated. So the minute I click save, it'll notify my direct team. So that's it on goal setting, how to approve and how to decline. So I just wanted to show you the difference between sharing and assigning a goal. We've been getting queries because the users are not sure how a shared goal looks like versus an assigned goal. So I'll log in onto an employee profile and show you how it looks like. Okay, I think it's taking a bit of time, but as I explained, a shared goal, it's just simply showing your direct report or somebody you're working with in a project to say, this is what I'm working towards. But an assigned goal is a goal that you intentionally give them to achieve. So a shared goal, they don't have to achieve it. You're just giving them a view of how it looks like and what you're working towards. Sorry about that. And this is how a difference between a shared goal and an assigned goal. So this goal was shared to this employee, and this is how it looks like. You can have a view of the goal details, but you can't edit it. You can view what they're working towards, what is their description, what are their key actions, and all that. But you can't do anything to the goal, so you just have a view of it. But a goal that has been assigned to this employee, let me just look for one. A goal that has been assigned to this employee will have a different view. Sorry about that. It looks like we don't have a shared goal in this profile or assigned goal. So what it'll look like simply is it'll look exactly like your goal. It'll look like this. You can edit it, you can delete it, you can amend it. However it is, the only difference is the goal creator will be the person who assigned you the goal. In this case, it will be the manager, and the goal owner would be the person you assigned to. In this case, it will be the direct report. I hope it makes sense. Now moving forward to check-in. So now that you've captured your goal and you'd like to have a check-in, maybe have a discussion around the goal to see, are they aligned to your business goal? Is it something that you're willing to work towards this year? You can create a check-in on the system. So how to create a check-in? You click on My Check-ins, you create a check-in, you click on Create Check-in. So we have two types of check-in. We have a regular and performance. So a regular check-in would be your goal setting, your monthly check-in with your direct reports. And you can select who you'd like to have a check-in with. I'd like to have a check-in with this user. And this check-in, who you'd like to have a check-in with, it's not limited to your direct team. So you can have a check-in with anybody in the organization. Now we go into check-in title. Maybe we'd like to have a goal alignment check-in. I'll give it a title. And the overview, you just explain what the check-in is about. We're going over goals. Then we add this conversation points. So let's say we're reviewing goals. And we're also checking if you have a learning goal. Then at the last point would be selecting the date. So your check-in can be a once-off check-in, or it can be a recurrence check-in. So a recurrence means you can have it monthly, bi-weekly, or a weekly check-in. So the minute I click create check-in, it will create every month check-in because I selected monthly. So every month it will prompt me to say this is the time where you should have a check-in. But if I leave it as is, it will be a once-off check-in. So for the purpose of the demo, I'll just leave it as a once-off and I click create check-in. The minute I click create check-in, there'll be a pop-up to say, would you like to add this to your calendar? So I just follow the prompt and I add it in onto my team's calendar. So it reduces duplication of effort to go and create another meeting on Outlook or Teams. Now that we've created a check-in, we can have a real-time conversation. During the check-in, we can just pop up the My Performance solution, go to check-in, open the check-in, and type out all the points that we discussed, what we agreed upon. So it's more like a WhatsApp conversation. So let's say we agreed upon adding a learning goal. and maybe reducing the number of your goals. So at the end, how it looks like is this how it will look like. So I'll just show you one that I've completed with one of my colleagues. So that's how it will look like. This is the same one. So it will have the conversation from both ends. So whatever the line manager typed out and whatever you typed out, it'll be populated on the screen. So every time you know this is what we agreed upon, it's not deleted, it's saved on the system so you can hold each other accountable. So that's it on the system. I've shown you how to create a goal, how to assign and share a goal, and how to create a check-in. I'll hand back to Raisa. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank,
much. Oh,
oh,
sorry.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Much appreciated. Before I hand over to my colleague Wendy to go through the support and resources model, I just want to address the question in the chat. So, what is the difference between setting up a check-in via this application versus the normal way we set up check-ins via Outlook? And is the expectation now that we change the way we do our check-ins? So the My Performance solution allows us to be able to track those conversations and those check-ins. So as Sharon demonstrated, you're able to actually go in and track those conversations. And the functionality enables you to download it into your Outlook calendar so that, again, we're creating the culture, as I mentioned, of and the behavior of having those regular continuous conversations. So Karen, I hope that answers your question. Is the expectation now that we change the way we do our check-ins? For now, it's okay to do it the way that we've done it, but we'd like to start moving to using the full system when it comes to performance and how we do our check-ins. Okay, so I really hope that answers your question, Wendy. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Raisa, and to my colleagues who gave such a comprehensive presentation around what the system has to offer. I, for one, am definitely excited. I come bearing good news in that I know that there's a lot of information that we've shared this morning. However, we do have a support model that will ensure we go the journey together and ensure that you have all the information that you need at your fingertips and that the support is available to you as leaders as we journey together. So the first one is just around our primary support function is through the PNC operation support. The number is displayed as well as the email address, but we will provide it to you as well. You also have the opportunity to reach out to your people and culture business partner throughout every stage of this journey to get the support that you require. In terms of some of the technological transitions that we've been adopting, there is a little bit of a lag or rather a time span of 2 weeks when it comes to some of the changes that are made from a SAP transaction point of view. We are in the process of ensuring that that is proactive, but between Liberty and SBG, there is that 2-week lag that we need to just cater for as part of those changes. So just to take us through the next support model that we have available, we've also put together resources that are available on My Access in terms of ensuring that as line leaders, you're able to understand the context, the background, and the how-to regarding goal setting. It is available to everybody. The learning path is on the system. And it's also important just to emphasize that as line leaders, we all need to go through the goal setting learning so that we are well equipped to ensure that we support our teams adequately. Raisa is just demonstrating where you go to when you land on that learning path. And you can see it on My Access. As soon as you get in under learning, you type it in at the top, you're able to see the My Performance learning support. And it's quite comprehensive in that it gives you everything around all the different stages of the actual My Performance journeys that we undertake throughout the year. And the one that she's showing us right now is actually the goal setting for line leaders that we need to all complete. Thanks, Raisa. We've also launched a SharePoint site that has all the tools in terms of interactive guides that will show the process and of how we can actually go about goal setting. And if you go into that learning path, you will actually see that it's also it's curated for specifically managers, employees, and also PNC. I'm just going to allow her to scroll down. This is what that SharePoint site looks like. When we go a little bit further down, we're able to see everything, whether it's the events that are taking place from a calendar learning point of view. You're able to plug into those, as we're going to be having other sessions throughout the year as we go through different journeys of the by performance. We will be sharing more sessions. And if we go further down, you're also able to see those interactive guides. The one that she's projecting now is the specific to perform to grow that you can actually plug into as well. Okay. And right at the bottom is the toolbox that we've highlighted as well. Those interactive guides specify or are relevant to each and every different role that you play. So as an employee, you can plug in as a leader and as well as a PNC BP. You're able to you're able to plug in and actually interact with that guide for your learning purposes. In terms of what's next, currently, as mentioned by my colleagues, we are in goal setting stage. We soon are going to be having our check-in, which is part of our ongoing process. We're going to have a mid-year reflection in July, and then continuous performance conversations take place throughout the year. In October, we will be having our year-end discussions and reflections. And then towards the end of the year, we'll be having the moderation process as well as the year-end finalization. I would encourage everybody to bookmark and favorite the link so that it's easy and accessible for you to actually interact with. And as mentioned with all my colleagues around the functionality, it's as ready as using it at your fingertips. And it's something that we'll definitely enjoy using throughout the year. And this is how we're going to be running our performance management throughout the year. I just want to thank everybody for coming and making the time to be in the session today. And just as a reminder again, reach out to your PNC partner should you have any points that you'd like to clarify, and the support model is there and available for you to actually plug into and get the support that you need. Thank you, everybody.